Alright, what we're doing, we're prepping our Camaro up for primer. Now normally what I'll do is I'll go into 2K primer, high build primer, and put 2 to 3 full wet coats, and then we're ready to start block sanding and getting her done. But on this particular car, we got some extra damage on this thing, and I want to ensure that the damage is going to be fixed properly, and I'll be able to block sand that out, and we aren't going to have a lot of waves and wishy-washy action going on. Let's look at the car, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Heater running. I'm heating up my primers that I'm going to be applying to our Camaro. And what you're looking at here, you're looking at a filler primer. It's called Feather Fill, but this is the new G2. This is the Generation 2, next generation Feather Fill. And what we got, it's a high build, no shrinkage, cross-link cure, excellent flow and leveling, sands easily, fast dry to sand, and holds down repair and surface imperfections perfect. And if you haven't guessed, that's what this video is about. This is about how to use that product on your vehicle the proper way. Because there's videos out there that you might watch that are going to show you the wrong way to use it. And if you follow a lot of the videos on this Feather Fill, or what's another one, Slick Sand, and all these other high build, super high build polyester. This is a polyester filler. This is not a 2K primer. It is a polyester filler. And basically what we're talking about, it's a product just like this stuff right here, all right? But this is actually a finishing putty, not a polyester spray-on filter, but it's the same exact thing. It's just structured differently, and it's designed to be sprayed on instead of wiped on. So before we go any further, let's look at the Camaro. It's a 67 model. We got a lot of body work, a lot of imperfections in some places, but I want you to look real close, not a lot of places. So the hood on this vehicle was in very, very bad condition. Normally, most people would have replaced that hood, and also, they would have replaced this section right here, which is called the front filler panel or cowling or whatever, valance, front valance. They would have replaced that with aftermarket. I didn't want to do that. I went ahead and hammer and dollied this out. I went ahead and pulled all the dents out in this section here. We hammer and dollied that, and then we skimmed it with some Bondo and some polyester filler. On the right side of the vehicle, we also had some serious damage. And when I say that, we're coming back here to the quarter panel. The quarter panel was really, really jacked up. We had to do some patch repair panel section right in this area here. And then it was pretty damaged up in this area here. But it wasn't damaged enough to have to replace the whole quarter panel. So I went ahead and decided to fix that instead of replace it. Because when you're working on these old cars, the best sheet metal that you're going to be using is the original factory sheet metal. There was some big imperfections in this area, you can see that, and I had to fill that in. You can see right here in this area where we actually replaced that left corner of the rear tail light panel. And then if we come around here, on this side, we went ahead and replaced the whole quarter panel. the whole quarter panel had to be replaced on this. There was no way out of it, and that's what we did. Thankfully, the hood had no damage at all. The hood is in mint perfect condition. Now, I want to also go ahead and say this is a one-owner car. This is a one-owner car that sat in a garage for 35 years, and then my friend Pete found it, bought it for the customer that lives out in the UK, and then now we are restoring it. The proper way to apply this product here, this Feather-Filled G2, and if you're using another product such as, let's see, U-Pol has a product, it's called Resurface, and then also Evercoat has several different other products, and the other one that's familiar to this one is called Slick Sand. I'm going to show you the correct way to apply this type of filler, which is polyester filler, to your vehicle for preparation, for block sanding, and for doing it right, because if you're not doing it right, you're not doing it at all. Now, the Feather-Filled G2, which is next generation, can be applied to wood surfaces. It can be applied to Bondo surfaces. It can be applied to fiberglass surfaces, and it can be applied to properly prepped metal surfaces. It cannot be applied to bare metal. If anybody tells you that you can use this product on bare metal, they're a liar. They have not done their research and they don't know. So to properly apply it to this vehicle right here, and we did a walk around, I will have to take epoxy primer sealer, not 2K primer, not sandable primer. You can also use self-etching primer if you want, but in this situation here, where I've already put epoxy primer on it and then I came back and I did my body work, we're going to use epoxy primer. So what I'm going to do before I apply anything to our vehicle is I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to go ahead and snapshot pictures of where our Bondo is, because I might have to cover that up when I put epoxy primer on it. So I'm going to go ahead and take pictures, and that's going to give me a roadmap of where I'm going to use my Feather-Filled G2. So what I'm going to basically do is get a four-corner action picture situation. And now that I know where all the body work and the Bondo is placed on the vehicle, we can now go ahead and mix up our epoxy primer, epoxy prime the vehicle, and get it ready for our feather fill. Okay, I got my epoxy primer mixed and ready for spray. And I'm going to tell you right now, listen very closely. There's a lot of companies out there that are advertising sandable epoxy primer. If you can sand it, it's not 100% true epoxy primer. If somebody tells you that we sell 2K primer, if you mix reducer with it, it becomes epoxy primer, they're liars. Do not buy the product, stay away from it. You want to use 100% true epoxy primer. Now, this is the brand that I use. PPG Shopline Plus. This is a true epoxy primer. You cannot sand it. What I did to re-prep the car up, I took my D.I.Y sander and I went over it very quickly. And that's only to rough the surface up. If I sat there and tried to sand the epoxy primer, it would gum my paper up, it would gum up the epoxy primer on the vehicle, and it would basically ruin the situation. Do not buy any epoxy primer that says sandable. Epoxy primer is not sandable. Okay? Do you see that right there? Anything that you put a hardener into is a two-part epoxy, which is non-sandable. So now that we got that clear, I want to go ahead and explain one more thing to you about epoxy primer. Depending on the spray gun that you're using, epoxy primer does not require reducer for it to be sprayable. But if you're using a spray gun that has a small nozzle and you need to reduce the epoxy primer, you can do that. But you can only do that using urethane. Don't use acetone, don't use mineral spirits, don't use anything else. You have to use urethane. Now, one other thing I want to stress very clear, and this also pertains, let me get that can, that also pertains to this, so pay attention very closely. If you reduce this product here, or your epoxy primer, you can only go 10%. If you go past that, it will crystallize the product that you're using, and you will have a chance that it will check, crack, crow's feet, and possibly will not adhere to the item that you're working on. So do not cross over, do not use the over limit of what they suggest. So what I've done here, since this is a cold weather day, the primer is a little bit thicker than normal. If it was a hot summer day, we wouldn't have to do it. I went ahead and put 10% reducer in my epoxy primer. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spot seal the car. I'm not going to epoxy prime the whole thing. I'm only going to cover the bare metal spots. And let's go ahead and walk around that one more time. We got this area right here. You can see there's bare metal showing on all this bondoed area. So all this area here is going to have to be epoxy primed. We'll have to come across here and get all this. Then we'll zip over here and get this down here. We'll go ahead and shoot this area here. We're going to go ahead and do this whole quarter panel very thickly. The whole deck lid will have to be covered. We'll have to cover partially this here. This is starting to look like an overall epoxy prime job, guys. So let me get on it. Let me get it epoxy primed. You see what's going on here. We'll be back after I get done applying the epoxy primer. Epoxy primer. I only put one full wet coat on it. That's all we need. We just need to cover that bare metal up. And now we're ready to go ahead and apply our feather fill next generation G2. Alright, so what we're going to start out with here is I'm going to kind of break it down for you and show you the situation of what you should use to apply this stuff. A lot of guys out there, they're going to use a large nozzle / needle HVLP gun. And that's all fine and dandy, and you can do that, but if it's a high-tech expensive spray gun and you don't take care of it and clean it out immediately, what's going to happen is you're going to end up throwing that spray gun away. So let's start out with the spray gun situation, and I want to show you what I got here that's going to really help you out. If we look right here, this is a Central Pneumatic 33-ounce low volume, low pressure spray gun. Now what that means, I'm going to go ahead and do it in, I'm going to go ahead and tell you in easy lingo terminology. This is basically a miniature pressure pot. If anybody knows what a pressure pot spray gun is, then they're going to know that the cup is pressurized and it forces the material out of the spray can, which is right here, out of the container, and the air pressurizes the tank and then forces it out of the gun. Now, this is a very large nozzle on this. I don't know exactly what size nozzle it is, but if we read it, it says it's a 9 CFM at 45 PSI. That's a lot of material being flowed out. Basically, it's a throwaway situation. I purchased this over at Harbor Freight. When I buy these guns, I buy 5 or 6 at a time. So let's open it up and let's check it out. Alright, so we got the gun open. And it's basically just a simple, easy situation. There's nothing fancy about it. It's an easy peasy situation that says I can use this spray gun. You got your directions in there. If you don't know how to use it, read. Okay? We're going to pull the gun out. I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to go over a few items with you and let you know what's going on. So normally what we'll do is we're going to take our air filter here off of our touch-up gun. Our water filter and our pressure regulator. And then we'll go ahead and screw that onto this gun. Now, we're going to set our air over at the wall. I'm going to set it at 40 PSI, 40 to 45 PSI, just like they require. Now, what this little handle here is, this little knob, this is what regulates the air pressure going into the cup to pressurize your cup. So you're going to have to kind of finagle yourself. You're going to have to play with it. You're going to have to set it. Okay? You see what I'm saying? And I'm going to show you that here in a minute to get it proper. This is your volume control. That's what regulates the volume, how much you're spraying, how much you're laying down. What I usually do is I screw it all the way in. And then I'll back it out 3 turns. 3 full turns. And that's going to give me just a little bit before it's almost all the way open, if that makes any sense. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll set their guns where they can randomly take the trigger and variable speed the action. I don't like to do that with this because this stuff here goes on really, really thick. And it actually takes a few minutes for it to, shock itself so it doesn't run. We don't want to get runs in this stuff. And then, this is our pattern. This is where you're going to adjust your pattern. So, we're going to close that all the way, and the pattern's going to be like this. But now what we're going to do is we're going to open it up, okay, where it's a nice wide pattern. I don't want it too wide, but then on the other hand, I don't want it too little. I want it kind of in the middle. So we'll go ahead and play with that once we get our primer into the gun. Now, one more thing that we need to do to this gun, we need to run some lacquer thinner through it. And the reason is because when they build these guns, they oil everything up. So what I'm going to do is I went ahead and put lacquer thinner in my gun, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a little shake. And then I'm going to go ahead and hook the air to it. And if you look what I'm doing here, you can see that's going on very thick. So we're going to go ahead and keep this lacquer thinner in case we need it for cleaning purposes. So we got our spray gun, we got everything ready to go. What's the next thing, my friend Pete, to use this product right here properly? The next thing that we're going to do, and I've already done this, is we're going to get a stick and we're going to thoroughly mix our primer. You're going to make sure there's no lumps, there's no anything in it, and it's mixed 100% thoroughly. That's going to take about 10 to 20 minutes to do that. Very, very important to make sure that this is mixed 100%. I got my mixing cup right here. We're only going to mix 1 quart at a time. That's it. Now, if I need to reduce this, what I'm going to use to do that with is acetone. I'm not going to use urethane reducer. I'm not going to use lacquer thinner. I'm going to use acetone. Acetone is what you use to reduce this with. The hardener that is required for this primer is this right here, which is fiberglass resin. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix it up. So what I usually do, I'll take my hardener and I'll pour that in first. We're going to mix only 1 quart up at a time. We're not going to use our acetone as a reducer yet, but remember what I told you earlier. If you're going to reduce anything such as this, do not exceed the maximum required specific reduction that the manufacturer says. And on this particular reduction system, it's only 10%. You can crystallize your primer and your whole job will be a nightmare. And the only reason you would do that is if your spray gun is not set up to spray it properly like we're going to do with ours. So now that I got that hardener in, we're going to go ahead and pour our primer in. And once again, we're only going to mix up 1 quart. And after we're done mixing this quart, or should I say after we're done using this, I am going to immediately clean my spray gun out. I am not going to mix anymore and then pour it in the spray gun, because once you mix this, you only have approximately 15 minutes to use it. So you got to be really quick, and the hotter it is outside, the hotter it is, the less time you have. Okay, before we go any further, remember the pictures I took? The reason I took those pictures is so I can see where I need to put my primer. And I'm already getting nervous because this stuff is, the clock is ticking. So we got the front, we got to prime the front hood. We got to prime that back quarter panel, which is on our passenger side, and I see this right here. And we got some of the fender over here, and then we got the quarter panel area. Let's get her done and let's do it right. Now, if you can possibly use a strainer, do so. But most of the time, this stuff won't strain because it's so thick. We're going to go ahead and try to strain it and see what happens. Like I said, we need to really hurry up with this. And it's not straining too good because it's so thick. So let's go ahead and get this stuff poured and just go ahead and go for it. Okay, we got one full coat on everything that we want. What I'm trying to show you here, I don't know if you noticed, most people that use this stuff, they do the whole car. They spray the whole car with it. No! That's what this video is about. You don't spray the whole fucking car. Only where you need it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean our gun out before we mix any more, because remember, this stuff is activating as we're sitting here. We're going to take our acetone and we are going to clean our gun out, because I don't want to have to throw this away. But what happens is if I have to throw it away, it was only 20 bucks. And I buy a bunch of them. I buy like 5 or 6 at a time. Okay, what I have done is I went ahead and spot primed. We're going to call this primer, even though it is a primer, but it's a polyester primer. I spot polyestered everywhere that was major body work. I didn't do the whole car. The whole car did not need to be done. This is how you use this stuff right here, guys. This is it. You don't spray the whole car with it when you don't need it. That's where a lot of people mess up, is they spray the whole car. And when you spray the whole car, all you're looking for is trouble. I need to apply one more wet coat on everything that you're looking at here, and then we're done. The name of the game with this is to spot prime. Don't prime the whole thing. Now, this is the good thing about doing it this way. If I was to prime this whole car with 2K primer, I would have to block the whole car down and redo body work, find the body work, fix all the meticulous body work, and then reprime the whole car again. When you use the polyester primer the way that I am showing you how to do it right here, not like all the other bozos out there and all the clown acts where they're spraying the whole fucking car, the only place that we will have to concentrate on is where we did body work. Once that is accomplished, we have leveled everything out by using our polyester primer, and we have eliminated the highs and the lows. We will then move on to our 2K primer, our high build 2K primer with 3 full wet coats, and then this car is ready to go into paint. No more work will have to be done. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, over here trying to show you the right way to do stuff. Okay? Some people think I'm a nobody. Some people think that I'm a loudmouth. And then there's a lot of people out there that think my friend Pete is honest, hardworking, loves to share his work ethics with you, loves to get you off your ass and do something with your life, and loves it when my friend Pete shows you the right way to do stuff right here. I never used to like this stuff, the old generation. This is brand new. This is the next generation. The way that I showed you how to do this is the right way to do it. Do not use this on bare metal. It is not designed for bare metal. If anybody tells you that, tell them to stick it in your ass, and my friend Pete said so. If you got a Harbor Freight, I suggest if you're going to use this, go buy this. This is a lifesaver. It's an awesome spray gun, and this is designed for this. We'll see you later. Take it easy. Showing you how how to spray it properly and do it right. Because if you're not doing it right, then you're not doing it all. Shake a hand, make a friend, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, everybody's friend Pete. Doing it right, bitch.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.